Hello friends, and welcome back to the channel. On today's episode, we're going to build the Orion 3 Space Clipper in 1/160th scale from Mobius Models. I can vividly remember seeing this for the first time back in the 80s when I watched 2001: A Space Odyssey for the first time. I can remember seeing the Pan Am logo and the feeling I had thinking, wow, by the 2000s, people will be able to fly to space as easily as boarding an airplane and heading for Miami. Well, that hasn't exactly happened yet, but maybe someday in my lifetime. So I actually picked this kit up over a year ago, and it's been waiting in the stash for its turn on the bench. I finally got inspired to build it when I located and purchased a set of aftermarket decals from TSDS. These decals are pretty nice. They include the Pan Am logos, TWA logos, NASA logos, Air Force, and presidential logos. Now, for my build, I'm going to use the Pan Am logos because that's what I remember seeing in the film. And these decals look really nice, and I'm looking forward to giving them a try. The kit also comes with transparent plastic with the passenger compartments and the cockpit. Now it's transparent and it's made for backlighting. I don't know if I'm going to use this in my build, but it's a nice addition to the decal kit. Okay, so enough chit chat, let's get to the unboxing. Really quick, before we get to the unboxing, however, I'd like to say if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. It helps out the channel and I'd really appreciate it. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to help support the channel even more, please check out my Ko-fi page. Ko-fi is kind of like Patreon. You can tip me by buying me a coffee, or you can subscribe to one of my 3 skill levels. Each skill level will get you special access to behind-the-scenes footage, early release footage, giveaways, and other cool stuff as well. So check it out. And if you like t-shirts like I do, check out my t-shirt shop, where I've got a line of scale model themed t-shirts and mugs that were designed by a scale modeler, me. All the links will be down in the description, so go check them out. All right, on with the unboxing. Okay, so we have... All right, so right off the bat, we've got some nice detail on the outside interior of the box. It's pretty nice. All right, so let's get into this. We've got the instructions, which are in color, which is nice. Not that there's a lot of color on this kit. All right, so it looks like a fairly basic assembly, pretty straightforward. And then information on where to place decals, so looks like it's got a good decal set too. All right. Here we have our clear parts. We've got the windows for the passenger compartment and the cockpit, and a clear plastic stand. And it's got kind of a little Earth logo on the stand there. Not sure if you can see that, but that'll be kind of cool. Not sure if I'm going to put it on a stand or hang it from the ceiling, but we shall see. Okay, let's get into the plastic. All right. Here is half of the hull, and very nice recessed and raised panel lines on this. Very nice. Yeah, that's going to look sharp. Here's the rear engine section. Here is the other half, the fuselage. Yeah, very nice details. Okay, here we have part of the wings and part of the engine. The other half of the wing and the rear jets for the engines. Those have some pretty nice detail in them too. And we have the lower section. So a little bit of cleanup, a little bit of flash, but nothing really bad. That'll be really easy to clean up. All right. Now we've got our decal sheet. All right. So, wow, this is a very nice decal sheet. It's got some very small decals here. Maybe for some door docks or something, engine inlets, control panels, all of the pre-shading for the panels underneath and on top. Yeah, this is really nice. Alright, so this looks like it's going to be a fairly straightforward and easy assembly, and then I'll focus on the details and the weathering. So let me get this cleaned off the bench and we'll get to the build. The body of this kit is really well molded and didn't require too much cleanup. I used a file to clean up the area where the front window will go, and then just some light sanding around the edges cleaned it up enough to where I was happy with it. The main fuselage halves went together really well. I'm using some masking tape here to hold the pieces together while I glue them in place. After these parts had dried overnight, I started sanding down the seam line. I started with a pretty coarse sanding stick to work down all the high spots. Then I switched to a finer and finer grit to smooth everything out, take out the scratches, and eventually polish the seam line. In the end, it came out great. Here I'm using my micro saw to re-scribe some of the panel line detail that was removed while I was sanding down the seam. This worked really well and put the seam lines back to where they'll definitely be able to be seen once the paint job's complete. There's a really shallow seam line here. I'm using some Mr. Surfacer 1000 and I'm brushing it on. After it's dried, I'll be able to sand this smooth and you won't even be able to see the seam. I'm using the same technique with the Mr. Surfacer around the front windshield. Once this dries, I'll be able to sand this down and you shouldn't even be able to see any of the imperfections around the parts. I'm pre-shading the entire kit with some German gray. I'm pre-shading around all of the recessed and raised panel lines. Since the spaceship is basically white, I want to do this to add depth to the paint job and give it a little more realistic look. After I pre-shaded with my German black, I'm lightly highlighting some other areas with an aluminum color. This will give even more depth to the final color and should make it look much more realistic. And we're back with the completed Orion 3 from 2001: A Space Odyssey. This was a great kit. It was really fun to build, it was easy to assemble, and it went together really well. Now, recently I've been watching other videos of builders on YouTube who are building the newer, larger scale version of this, and I must say that kit looks really nice. I've also seen videos on the smaller scale one, and I don't think I'm as thrilled with that one as I am with the larger scale. However, that said, this one, perfect. I love how it went together. I love how it looks. It's gonna look great hanging from the ceiling next to my Discovery. So this is one of those kits that I like to build, shortly after I've done a rather large, complicated build, because these are just, pretty simple to put together, and then I can just have fun with the painting and the weathering and kind of recharge my creative juices. So with this kit, I pretty much built it box stock, right out of the box. I did change the decals. I did locate some aftermarket decals online from a seller on eBay, and I will leave a link to his eBay page down in the description below. They're a great set of nice little decals. The quality is pretty good. However, his customer service is great, because the first set I had, there was some problems with the text. As you can see here, I don't know if you can see that, but the text down here, there was several places where it was smudged and missing print. So I reached out to him, even though I bought these months ago, technically last year. He didn't give me any problems. He just said, sorry about that, and sent me a new set right away, and I got them within a few days. So great customer service. Now these decals are all one piece, so you have to trim them very well and very carefully. The only negative on these decals, I would say, is that the decals are very close together, and I understand why he made them that way. You can get as much on the page as possible, but for a more experienced modeler, these should be no problem. The kit also included a translucent piece of material that has the interior of the cockpit and the passenger area. You basically just fold this and then you put it inside, and you can see this through the windows. However, on my version, I just blacked out the windows because I wasn't going to light this or anything. And for me, I just like the way that looks. As for the ship itself, as you saw in the videos, I primed everything in gray. And then I did some pre-shading with some German black, or very dark gray. And then when I painted my base color of white, it's just regular Tamiya white, but I added it on very specifically and very lightly in some areas, so that I could get that pre-shading to come through and pick up all that great detail that's in the ship. I really like how it came out. After I got the base coat on, I put on a gloss clear coat, and I did some detailing. For the windows, I basically just used Panaline wash and dipped them in the windows. Because they're recessed, that worked out really well. I also used some black and gray Panaline wash in other areas of the ship. And then for the front windshield, I just masked everything off, and I painted the front windshield flat black. The decals on this kit are, the decals are challenging. So if you're not a fan of decals, or you struggle with decals, you want to leave yourself some extra time and have some patience with them. The larger decals, the decals are great, but the larger ones are kind of tough to get lined up and settled in. And you'll want to make sure you've got a really nice smooth gloss coat when you go to do this, so you can move them around. Mine actually ripped in one place over here, but I was able to move them around enough, and you can't even really tell that there was a rip. For the decals on the back here that go around, and also for across here, it's a pretty good sized decal. So they do lay down, but it took a lot of coaxing with a lot of microset to get them to lay down the way I wanted them. And then I added the Pan Am logo and decals here. So overall, this was a fun kit to build. It was a fairly quick kit to build because, like I said, it's pretty basic as far as the assembly of the kit. And then it's just a matter of having fun with the painting and weathering of the ship to make it look how I wanted it to look. All right, so if you've made it this far in the video, thanks for hanging around. If you like this video, please like. Please subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Don't forget to check out my Ko-fi page and also my line of t-shirts designed for scale modelers by a scale modeler. The links for all of these will be in the description below. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know in the comment section below. I love hearing from everyone. And that's going to wrap up this episode. So as always, friends, be safe out there and go build something.